Hi, my name is Francois. I'm the chef and the owner of Prosciutto and Pastis. And today I want to show you one of my favorite appetizers to make using these beautiful fresh figs that my friend Dana picked off her tree just yesterday. I started cooking at a very young age. By age 3, I had filleted my sister's goldfish, and by age 7, I had braised my own pet rabbits. So this is a dish that even a novice can master right away and feel confident serving as an appetizer. So today joining me is my wife Lisa. Now she's a lot like you guys. She really hasn't cooked a lot. I think, how many times have you cooked? Don't do it.
People might have actually cooked. You should just make a joke about it.
Okay, she's gonna want me to cut this part, but I'm not going to. She's only cooked like 15 times in 15 years. The point is, this dish is so simple that anybody can make it. Okay, so for this fig dish, I'm gonna start with these beautiful figs that my friend Dana picked off her tree yesterday for us. And then you need some kind of cured ham. You can go to most grocery stores and find 𝒄𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒆, which is a prosciutto-like ham that's made in Iowa. 𝒄𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒆 means the oak. So that's a good one, or you can just use any. I picked this up at our local store. They slice it for you. We're also going to use Kataifi dough.
And what is Kataifi?
So Kataifi dough, even though the box here says shredded dough, it's not really a shredded dough. This dough is extruded. So there's tiny little nozzles that pipe dough out onto a hot surface that's just kind of spinning around like an album. And it makes these really thin strands of dough, and when you cook them, they're just really crunchy, a lot more so than even phyllo dough. Cool. And then we're going to use some just plain fresh goat cheese. I have this one from Laura Chanel, but you can use any that you find in your grocery store. We're also going to use some honey. Really, the flavor doesn't matter so much, just whatever you like. And then finally, a little extra virgin olive oil. And once again, just buy whatever. All right, so let me show you all how to make this dish. And so the first step, all we're gonna do, you grab your little fig, is just cut off the very tip, and that's just the tip here that's got kind of the pointy piece. And then we're gonna sit it flat like this and just make a little cross in the top. You don't have to cut down too far. Okay?
Half an inch or an inch. Looks like a good full inch or so.
Half an inch.
Okay.
That's the thing. You don't have to be overly precise in this, you know, but dishes should be fun to make. All right. So it's pretty easy so far, huh?
Sure is.
Yeah.
They're so soft and fleshy.
Yeah, you know, figs have such a short season. And it's really like you have to really capitalize on when they're here and make all kinds of dishes. Here, I got the last one.
Such a beautiful color too.
All right, so now that you've done the first step, just cutting the tops off, putting a cross in the top of the figs, we're gonna take the Kataifi, and this is what I mean. Look at it, it's just like this beautiful dough. It's like strands of really fine string. And you want to try to find where they folded it. It's kind of a little bit hard to do. Okay, so now I'm just unrolling the Kataifi dough, kind of stretching it out. And you want sections that are, you know, about 1 foot long. I wouldn't measure it, don't worry about it. So like right here, maybe that's 1.5 feet. It's perfect. We'll take this excess stuff here. And then we're going to just kind of separate it up a bit so it's just a little easier to work with. In fact, you could just nip the ends of both sides. Because when they make the dough, the strands are like several feet long. And so now we've just kind of essentially made them 1.5 feet. All right, so when you have them stretched out here like this in front of you, we're just going to take a little bit of our olive oil. And you don't have to be precise at all. We're just going to drizzle a bunch over, just like that.
Why do you get it wet like that?
For two reasons. One, it makes it easier to work with the Kataifi dough, and then secondly, when you cook it, it's going to help to make it a little more golden brown. So I'm going to show you the first one. The prosciutto that I'm using today has been aged for 2 years. It's a Prosciutto di Parma. And we're just gonna, I broke each slice into just like 3 pieces. Once again, you don't have to be so perfect. But I'm gonna show you one fig, the whole process, and then we'll tackle all the little steps individually. Okay, so we're gonna take this fig, we're gonna take just one of these pieces of prosciutto and just wrap it around. And it doesn't have to be perfect or even that pretty, because a lot of that you're really not gonna see. I know also a lot of people, when they buy prosciutto, they see this big hunk of fat on it. Don't even worry about that, because when you bake it, it's just kind of like bacon. Most of it's gonna melt off and melt into the Kataifi dough and just make the flavor even richer and the Kataifi a bit more crunchy. Fat is flavor. All right. So now the next step after you wrap your fig with the prosciutto is we're going to take a little strand of Kataifi dough. And what you want to do, you just want to grab a small bit, I don't know how many pieces, don't count, but I don't know, there's 10 or so pieces of Kataifi. And you're just going to start at the base of the fig and just spin it around.
And you're building up.
Yeah, and you're just looking to cover the bottom half of the fig. And then when you get to the end of the Kataifi dough, you just tuck it underneath your fig.
Et voila.
And that's it. And then we're going to put them over here. And just take a look at that. And it just looks so beautiful and it's so simple. We're just going to put that right there. All right, so now the best way, just like before we started, we cut all the tops off. We put the little crosses in the top. Before we start wrapping them in Kataifi, let's just wrap each of the figs in the prosciutto or whatever cured pork you're using, and then after that we'll do the Kataifi on all of them, okay?
Sounds good.
Okay. So if you're a vegetarian, you can just simply leave the prosciutto step off and wrap it in Kataifi, and you're still gonna have this wonderful appetizer. If you're gluten-free and vegetarian, you can still make this dish. You just simply bake it without the prosciutto and without the Kataifi. And then when you pipe it with a goat cheese and you're going to drizzle over it honey, and it's still going to be a delicious thing. It's still a great way to make figs. Here, why don't you eat some prosciutto?
Okay, if you insist.
So delicious.
I found it's pretty quick and easy instead of lifting it when I put it down on the board, and then I was more just easily able to wrap it up. That was a nice big piece. And what would you do with this big round piece? Would I just cut that in half?
Sure. Yeah, you can cut it. It really doesn't matter.
Okay.
Once again, people get very focused on, they read in a cookbook a technique and they feel like it won't be right if they don't do it exactly the way it says in the book.
And since that's a little short, should I use...
Sure, you can patch it with any small pieces. Really the Kataifi dough is going to hold it together in the end. So it might be a little bit hard to handle right now because the piece wants to fall off. But in the end, it's going to be perfect and none of your guests will notice. Wow, so far, super easy dish, right?
Sure is.
I mean, really anybody could make this. You don't need to have any experience. Okay, so now we're going to wrap each of these guys up in the Kataifi dough. So I'm just going to show you one more time, and then I'll let you have at it. So just do your best job. It's kind of like untangling your hair when you're a little girl, I imagine. You just step out of the shower. So just pull it apart. Get a small amount, about that much. You don't have to worry about it too much. Then just like how you did your figs, where you did it on the table or a cutting board, just start wrapping around and just hold, you're going to have to hold the end of the Kataifi pressed into the fig as you start wrapping it. And then once you do one circle, you're good enough. You don't have to hold it anymore. And then just to make it look prettier, the trick will be to take this end piece here and just tuck it underneath, so it's neat. And that's not critical. It's not, if these were a little messy, it wouldn't make a single difference. So here, why don't you give it a shot?
So as we're wrapping these, where exactly would somebody find this fun Kataifi?
So Kataifi you can find usually in Middle Eastern grocery stores. So most big cities will have some kind of market. We live in Portland area, and in Portland there's a store called Barber World Foods. It's owned by a Lebanese gentleman, and you'd be amazed at the things you find there, and really great prices on things. But so Kataifi you will find really easy in stores like that.
And it comes frozen, doesn't it? Usually
Yeah, it comes frozen, so you should leave it in your refrigerator for a day. That's the easiest way, but if or at least a few hours out on your counter. Also, when you're done with your Kataifi, if you have any left over, it's kind of like phyllo dough. You don't want to just leave it out on your counter open, or else it'll dry out and become really brittle. So you can wrap it in like a Ziploc bag and then just stick it in your freezer for the next time you make some figs. And look, these things are just so easy. At some point you're just going to end up with this kind of tangled mess. And, just keep trying to pull out your best little bits. Doesn't have to be perfect.
I feel like this is like adult culinary Play-Doh. So when it's kind of fallen down like this, would I just wrap it right back up, right? Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to look perfect.
Really, in the end, it's being held together by the Kataifi. And so far, do you think this is a dish that you can just make on your own now?
For sure. This isn't anything difficult for anyone to do.
It's kind of fun cooking. It's relaxing.
It is fun. It's kind of meditative. Now on this one I had like, a little patch of kind of spread out a little bit on the end. That's okay too, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's much better. So now comes the fun part. We're going to cook a few of these off. I actually made these for a party that we're going to later on tonight. The best thing about these figs is you can prep them the day before. And I'm a firm believer, like when you have a party at your house, that you should be spending time with your friends rather than just slaving away in the kitchen.
It's no fun for anyone.
Right, exactly. So, this is like the perfect dish because one of these or maybe two for an appetizer is just the perfect size. So like I said, you can make these the day before, wrap them all up. I just wouldn't bake them. You want to bake it at the last minute so the dough stays nice and crunchy. When it comes time to bake them, you're just going to take them off your tray or your plate, whatever you stored them on, and put them on a baking sheet. I use a Silpat, which you can buy at any store. You can use parchment paper, aluminum foil, wax paper. It really doesn't matter. Just something nonstick. You could even spray the pan with nonstick spray. You could put olive oil. Anyways, so we're just going to put a couple of these guys on, and then we're going to bake these. I also don't really care too much about oven temperatures. People make too much of a deal about the precision of temperature, and the truth of the matter is that household stoves or household ovens are rarely calibrated correctly to begin with. So I have my oven right now at 450. I would say anywhere between 400 and 450, 475 would be the perfect temperature to cook these. We're going to put them in a sheet pan like this. Make sure you have a little bit of space between them. You want the air to circulate around it so they get brown all the way around. And then we're just going to...
And it's okay, you have these kind of straggly pieces there too.
Oh yeah, they're actually going to break off. Like, you won't even notice them. Anyway, so we're going to bake them for about 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes till they turn golden brown, and then I'll show you the next step. So why don't you stick these in our oven.
And top shelf?
I start them on the bottom shelf.
So you mentioned starting them on the bottom shelf, so what is the reasoning for that?
Okay, so we're going to start the figs in the bottom of the oven for the first 5 minutes. That's going to help cook the bottom. It's kind of like when you're making a pie or a tart. You want to get the dough on the bottom cooked so it's not soggy. After about 5 minutes, we'll move it up to the top, and then we'll finish it there on the tops where all the heat kind of rises to, and so it's going to make the top nice and golden brown. Okay, your friends have now arrived. The party's begun. Your oven's preheated. You got your figs roasting in the oven. Cheers, by the way.
Cheers.
And now it's time to do the finishing touches. So for the last few things that we need, Lisa's going to take like a tablespoon or so of honey, put it in a microwavable dish, microwave it for about 15 seconds or so. You just want it soft enough that you can pour it. Now, we're going to take this goat cheese. This goat cheese I've had sitting out on the counter all day, so it's really mushy. And if you have a pastry bag, by all means use your pastry bag. But I'm in the firm belief that in the restaurant business and even at home, we don't make excuses for not having things. There's always other ways to do everything. So I'm just going to take all of this goat cheese and stick it in the corner of a Ziploc bag. And this Ziploc bag is going to become my pastry bag. All right. Now we're just going to cut the tip out. And once again, if you have a pastry bag, use it. And you can use any attachment you want. All right. So now I've got my jerry-rigged pastry bag. We got the melted honey. Let's go grab the figs out of the oven and get back to the party.
Oh.
Woo! These things are So look how beautiful these are. Golden brown.
And that's how you know when it's ready, is when the Kataifi turns a nice golden on the bottom.
And so now we're just going to pipe inside. A little bit of goat cheese there. A little bit of goat cheese there. And then we're going to take our melted honey. And we're just going to drizzle it all over. And once again, you don't need to put the honey on. It's up to you. That's the thing. If you have pistachios, you could chop pistachios and sprinkle it on top. You don't need it. You could put other nuts. Pecans would work great. Hazelnuts. And now we've made a super simple appetizer anybody can make. These are figs that were wrapped in prosciutto or some other kind of cured pork, then wrapped in Kataifi dough, baked in a 450 degree oven for about 10 minutes or until the base is brown. Pull them out of the oven, you just pipe in a little bit of soft goat cheese that you've left on your counter all day, drizzle a little bit of honey, and then voila, it's back to the party. So thanks so much for joining us, and I hope you try this at home.